What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Creature Cast, the official Console Creatures podcast. I'm your host today, Steve Vegvar, and alongside me, as always, my good pal Bobby. How the heck are you today?
I'm doing super well. We're experiencing lousy March weather, but
Yep.
you know,
Yeah, we
it was a
experienced
fun day.
full spring,
Yeah.
and then we all put away our winter jackets, myself included.
For an eclectic morning, it was a very disappointing drive home. That was not
I
fun.
bet.
But
Yeah,
you know what?
I have not left my condo at all today.
You're a very lucky one.
Yeah,
And to tie it in, I'd rather be somewhere down south right now.
that's true. Yes.
Well,
Look at that. Yeah, because
boom.
this is our official South of Midnight episode. We're going to be talking about the game coming from Compulsion Games, Montreal studio. Shout out to a Canadian studio. Yeah, we got a chance to play this, both of us, thanks to Xbox, and we're excited to talk about this. So I hope everyone that's looking forward to this game coming out on April 8th on Xbox Series X. Oh yeah, there's early access as well. You get it on PC, Xbox Game Pass as well. So something to look forward to. But we're going to talk all about it. Bobby, I'm going to kick it over to you. Top level, how long did it take for you to roll credits? What are your overall thoughts on South of Midnight?
Yeah, so as of today, I'm basically I'm gonna say about 14, 15 hours in.
Yeah,
It's a perfect length game for this time of the year. I mean, coming off of Monster Hunter Wilds and Assassin's Creed Shadows, like those games are long, so it's just like this little brief respite just to palate cleanse and move on to the next round of games. 15 hours. I overall like the game. I'm really happy that Compulsion put this out. My only thing is, like, with the studio and their games, is there's normally a lot more style than substance, and I feel like that's kind of what their MO has become.
Sure.
Yeah, so I mean, great game, great platforming, great exploration, outstanding music and accompanying score, but very mediocre gameplay in regards to combat.
Okay. Yeah.
That's where I'm at right now.
I'm with you on a lot, although I think I'm a little less enthused about the game than you might be. I think, yeah, to your point, South of Midnight is this great love letter to the South. It's a great love letter to the folklore, the culture. It has this style. It has this music. Some of the best music I think I've heard in a video game in so
100%.
so long.
It
Like
is unreal.
Like there are some accompanying pieces of music in this that I forever think that I'm going to have on the Spotify playlist. I want the vinyl now. It's just, as soon as I heard it, as soon as the lyrics kicked in, I was like, oh my goodness, this is brilliant stuff. So from that point of view, I think there's a lot of compelling things going into South of Midnight. The narrative is very interesting. I'm learning a lot about the folklore. And I think that Hazel, the main character that you're playing as, is great. I think her voice acting is phenomenal as well. That being said, I do not like experiencing South of Midnight as a game. I don't like the gameplay. I think it's very safe and surface level. The platforming is very surface level. The combat is tedious, and not even because it's complex. It's tedious because
it's just tedious. It's in service to everything else, and because it's in. And I say this in my review, which will be live by the time of this. The combat is in service to everything else, and because it ends up taking a backseat to everything when it should have been more of a focus. I feel, because the structures, you've played it. You do a cutscene, you talk to some people, you find some lore, and then you move to like a little battleground, and you do that, you cleanse everything, and you move on, and you do it again.
And that's the issue for me, is that it all feels so surface level and repetitive, and that you hit these monster closets, and we'll talk about it more in depth and everything, but you're just doing the same thing over and over again. What you experience in the first hour in terms of its gameplay does not really evolve when
No.
you're right around wrapping the game up and hitting credits. You sure there's some upgrades and stuff that you'll unlock along the way, but in terms of the core game, the core gameplay loop, it never changes. It never really gets all that deep and meaningful. So from that perspective, I think even by the time I roll credits at around the same time as you, like about 15 hours or so, I
Yeah.
already thought the game had been overstaying its welcome simply because of the time I had been putting into the gameplay. Had this been
Yeah.
a movie, a series, anything else that I could be
Yeah.
ingesting in that it didn't make me go through this tedious combat, I think I would have loved South of Midnight more.
Oh, 100%.
But that being said, I do agree with you that I think in service of Game Pass, this is a perfect Game Pass game where even if you're not in love with it, I think this is something that really does bolster the Xbox Game Pass
Yeah.
platform. But as a
It's a perfect Game
standalone,
Pass game. That's what
yeah,
you just put
it
down to
is,
that.
and I
Yeah,
don't I don't use that as, like, pejorative or a negative
no,
or anything.
it's
I
not.
think that it really does service that platform. As a standalone game, as a retail game, I think it's really just kinda disappointing in my opinion, and that kinda bums me out because I was looking forward to this game a lot,
Yeah.
and yeah, there's just a lot that we'll talk about it more in depth, but I just really did want Compulsion to kinda step up in a certain way and kind of blow my mind, in so many ways. But yeah, well, let's talk about it in a more in-depth perspective. I want to talk about kind of the story, the style that we're kind of going through this, folklore tale in Hazel as well. Like, what are your thoughts and takeaways as you're going through this, albeit short game, but it's packed with so much in there.
It starts off very strong. Like I feel like the first hour, the first two, I'd say even the first three chapters are pretty strong. And it's like, okay, you're kind of getting an understanding of where what you're doing, where you are. Like, you're this young woman who's about to leave home, and you know, your situation is not obviously what you want, but like, you're facing the best of it. And then
Yep.
you're dealing with it also at the same time, this impending hurricane that's basically destroying the town around you. And then your mother just gets swept away in the house, which is on par for this kind of natural disaster, right? Like, these are all real stakes and stuff that does happen. And then what I did like about it is it takes that, and then it takes that little natural supernatural spin, and it adds like the folklore, and like they have like all these deep American South stories that you start hearing about, and they're like, okay, you start, unlocking lore, and you start unlocking conversations with some of the local characters, and like I love all that. And then as soon as the third chapter ends, which is where my preview was, and that's where we played that hour and a half, it becomes tedious. And I should have known that from the skill tree, because it's very, very shallow. It's pretty
Yeah.
lacking. I thought there would be more, but as I was playing and I was getting further into every chapter, the only thing that I'm unlocking was obviously Crouton, which is the coolest thing, I think.
Oh yeah,
I love
Crouton's awesome.
Crouton, but like as I was progressing, I'm like, what's coming up? Like this, I've literally just done this. Like, it's basically the same gameplay loop for 15 hours, and I know that's basically what video games are, but it never extends itself. It never tries to. It never felt like I was getting a fast one pulled on me. I never felt like there was anything like, yeah, but there was just, here's a story, we're gonna tell it, but don't expect anything outrageous. It's just like it became predictable to me, I feel.
Yeah.
And I think that's where I it wound down. I was like, okay, great beginning, mediocre middle. It ends off okay, but what saved this game for me was, you're going through the different. I think they're like, there's like 8 of them. There's like 8 different bosses, and you're
Yep.
learning their stories. So like you do the first one, which is Benji and Rhubarb. Then you get Two Toe Tom, and like you're
Oh
learning
man.
about them, and like I
Yep.
love that. Like you get to learn about these actual folklores that are. I hope I actually have to look
Yes,
back.
they are. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So like that's cool, but then that's the whole thing. It's like you have to do the bottle, you have to grab the bottle, you have to get the memories from them, you have to get you have to understand why it happened, and that's just the loop. And it's like, okay, but that's the same thing for like 15 hours. It's like what breaks it up, because it's basically just keep doing it. You move from one place to another, you do the same platforming stuff, and I don't hate it. I think the platform is pretty decent. but it feels very dated. It feels like something from like the PlayStation 3 era, where it's just so simple. It's not on the level of something like, and I don't want to see Spider-Man, but like that's like the gold standard for me now. Is like it's got some of the greatest movement you have in that game, and there are similar elements in the game and the way and her powers work, and it's like, okay, I see where they're going, but like it's not there, and it's further brought down by that combat. So it's like, had this been a straight up detective game where you're just playing as this woman and you're just trying to find out what's going on and you're just solving clues instead of fighting, I think it would have been a better game. If they got rid of that combat and just made it more compact, more precise, it would have been a stronger game.
Yeah, I agree with you in a lot of ways. I think the setup to the game is impeccable. I love Hazel as a character. I think that she's very compelling. The way that she's kind of experiences this, she kind of pushes through the veil of living in this reality, and then starts, seeing these folklore creatures, these, what are ostensibly the bosses that you'll encounter and everything. Very interesting the way that you're kind of going through, learning about the folklore, understanding the folklore, and then the accompanying music that is tied to each one. Like the song for Two Toed Tom is one of the coolest songs I think in the game. The alligator that we've seen in previews and stuff like that, it is so good. And the issue with it is the game's pacing. I mean, even at 14 hours, maybe 12 if you're going through it at like a rapid rate, I still think that it overstays its welcome, because as you're going through and your objective is, hey, we're going to get to this next boss, we're going to go up this mountain, we're going to go do this or that, it's then broken up by, you hit this area, you have to what do they call it? Please remind me, but oh my god, this stigmas, you have to cleanse
Yeah, you
this
got to find the
stigma.
stigmas for every character.
Yeah,
And there's
so
like,
so you're this is the way that you're learning the backstory of these characters. They're building empathy with these bosses and everything. But what it is you're going through these monster closets, one after another, and then you cleanse the stigma. You confront the boss, and then
yeah,
it's the same thing. Now you go confront
over and over.
another one and go cleanse the stigma. And it really does break up these chapters, sure, but it also just feels like we're just rinsing and repeating the entire game. Like the satisfying moments of getting to these boss moments or learning something interesting is broken up by hours of just tedium.
Yeah.
And I know that you're higher on the platforming. I even think that the platform, and we'll talk about it a little more in depth, but I even think the platforming is just kind of serviceable. It's there.
It is 100%, and I agree with you on that. I just it could have used a little bit more responsiveness in the controls, because like we can talk about that later. But
Yeah.
that's my one gripe, is just that. But like
Yeah.
I like find the stigmas, call them whatever you got to do, and like I
Mhm.
like that. But yeah, like you said, it's just that process of getting from one to another. It's just it's not as fun as it should be.
Yeah. And I think that they try to incorporate little things to kind of jazz things up. There are collectibles, so you can go out and
Which are
like,
cool.
which are cool, and
I do like these ones because they add. They're actually, and I was actually reading like
a lot of them.
most of
Yeah.
them when I'm coming through, like, and they add stuff. So it's like I do like learning about one of Hazel's, ancestors were like the first weavers, and like I
Yep.
like hearing about Jolene and
Yes.
what she's doing behind the scenes, and then
Yeah.
like you see what Lacey, what I think that's Hazel's mother's name is Lacey's, like what she's doing,
Yeah. Yep. And
and
that's
yeah,
all really cool. Like it does add so much texture and more to the story. So I really do enjoy that. The issue there is that part of me does feel like it's kind of like a cop out to say like, well, half the story is baked into all these collectibles that you could go out and find, or you're missing out on these like contextual clues to the greater narrative. But also these collectibles are the only thing distracting you from the tedium. Kind of frustrates me at the same time. Like the only things that you could go out and do, and your incentive to explore are to find these little the pages of notes, or to go out and find these the floofs, which are essentially the currency to upgrade Hazel throughout the game. Those are essentially the only two things that you can do without kind of
yeah.
mainlining the game. And I'm not saying, hey, I wish there was side quests or something like that, but I just wish that exploration in this beautiful crafted world with the stop motion, the stylized animation and everything, I wish there was just a little more there, because there are certain areas in this game where you'll go down and there's nothing in them, like little corners to the world and everything. There's no collectibles. There's nothing to do there. So to me, it just kind of feels like they over like they created like an overbearing world. And I'm not saying it's open world at all, but like there's a little more to chew on, and there's not really all that much to do, unfortunately. So it's a little unfortunate from that perspective. But I think we are talking a lot about the combat, and I do want to hear your perspective of what the combat really is for you. Did you find any, like, a lot of the upgrades useful? Did you find they added something, even though it's kind of just
You know
doing
what?
the same thing over and over again? I
Yeah.
wanted to hear what you think.
Honestly, I didn't like the skill tree at all. I think it was
Right.
probably a waste of time. And
Yeah.
and it comes down to, like we said, it's combat. Combat. I don't want to say it sucks. It's just it's really it's really
It feels surface level to me. Like, it
that
just feels
that's
like
only it
it's
feels like a
serviceable.
let's put it this here. Let's put it this way. It's a stigma on the gameplay
Sure. Yeah.
because going back to what you said, this is a perfect game that I feel would have been great as like a 4 or 5 part miniseries on like Amazon
Sure.
or Xbox. Like Xbox is like Game Pass service. Like, hey, we're doing something a little bit different. Here's like a little mini season. Blah blah blah. Here's the game or whatever. Yeah, the show. Everything about it. This is something I feel like I probably would have wanted to watch and play.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. The whole skill tree, there's literally one thing I think was probably useful, and that was the double dodge, where you can
Yes,
the
that
bob and weave. That's the only thing I liked.
I agree with that. There's also one where you can jump in the air, hold X, and you kinda do the slam, and I thought,
Yeah, the
"Hey,
slam. That's
that's
the
cool."
first
Like,
thing I locked.
that
That was the
is
first thing.
a piece of combat that is totally unique. You don't unlock that organically, you have to go through the skill tree, but then everything else is just very additive.
It's
It's like,
just
"Oh,
yeah,
we'll
it's
increase
just
the
like
damage, we'll
extra
increase the
damage.
duration for this," and to me, what really does kinda suck is that when you enter these monster closets and you're defeating what's known as the hates, these, like, shadowy creatures that kind of spawn and everything, and you have to defeat a certain amount before you can cleanse the stigma in each area. Um, Combat is essentially just hitting the X button on an Xbox controller over and over again. You might have to dodge an attack, and then you have a certain, I think it's like 5 different quick attacks. So you can pull an enemy towards you, push them away, you can freeze them in a spot for a small duration of time, but then you're just running up, you're hitting X, they'll swing, you dodge, you come back.
Yeah,
It might sound a little more complex than it is, but going
it
through it,
isn't. Once you play it, you only like if you're listening to this and you play what we're talking about, it doesn't get any different. It
no.
doesn't get any more intricate. You might get a couple enemy variations, like the
Yes.
little flies, or like that one that does like the spin attacks.
Yep.
But that's it. It's the same thing. The only thing and I want to say I did like was having Crouton able to take over enemies because
That
sometimes
was
there were
cool.
too many.
Yep.
So like Crouton having like that ability to just like take over for to get them off my back for a little bit while I take care of like the one or two, that's
Yeah.
fine. But like I to context what I'm saying, I think my biggest problem was just being like, hey, I'm fighting this enemy. I'm using these hooks,
Mhm.
but I don't get that. It's like comparing it to something like Batman, like you know when something's coming, you know
Yes,
when
yes.
you got to respond to something. This one here, it's just there's no there's no tell. So it's like how am I supposed to dodge something why is there no like parry or something where I can block these?
Yes.
There's nothing.
Absolutely. And
So
I
it's like
think
I'm getting hit and I'm dying, and it's like, but I could have probably prevented it if there's like a little like even a snap or like Hazel's powers. There's always whispers. So like with that
Mhm.
guiding light she has, like why
Yep.
are there not something whispering in my ear saying, "Hey, like, Hazel dodge, Hazel move"?
Kinda like a Hellblade thing.
Yeah, because like that's her whole thing, right? They're like, and that's my understanding is like the power of these weavers is like they're pulling from their ancestors. So like
Mhm.
she's hearing her ancestors, but like they're obviously watching her.
Yep.
Why are they not telling her to dodge? They're just
I
letting her die.
I maybe they're like,
This
"Yeah, we
piece
don't
of
like you."
shit.
Yeah.
She's gotta come. She's
Yeah.
coming. She's coming.
No, I
But
I
like, no,
agree with you wholeheartedly. I think that the dodge mechanic is fine, it's serviceable, but it's the fact that enemies don't have a good enough tell Because yeah, sometimes they'll swing, and I feel like I have their each enemy's timing down, and you know what it is? It's the one that's kind of like, I don't know, like a big like gloopy monster, and it kind of like fires red things at you.
Yeah,
Like
like the red
sometimes,
puke or whatever.
yeah, like sometimes it will like hone in on you incredibly well, and then sometimes it will kind of just like do like a hover attack and like kind of like follow you, and I'm just like, what? I don't understand like what I'm supposed to be doing here. It's like there's something just not as satisfying about the gameplay. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't have that crunchiness. Like it just feels like it's just kind of there. And maybe to kind of giving Compulsion games an out here. Their games have never been combat heavy before. They're always style over gameplay in so many different ways. Whether or not you're looking at We Happy Few or Contrast, I don't think that combat in this way has ever been their kind of forte. So I not to say that I'm giving them an out or an excuse here, but I don't know if I ever expected them to come out with like something as satisfying as you brought up, like Batman or something, where you can have the enemy tells, you can have that satisfying. I'm jumping from one enemy to another and stuff like that. It's just very slow. Yeah,
But that's the thing. Like you can see the skeleton's there for it. Like it's basically trying to set itself up to do the same things, and it's not. So it's like why? Like why? And my thing is like you're under Xbox Game Studios. Like why is there nobody from Microsoft being like, hey, we played your game. Like you could probably do a little bit something different here. You could add something here, or like you have all these studios you could probably pull from and ask for help or feedback. And it's like
yep,
where's the collaboration on that? And I get it. It's a smaller team,
it is. Yep,
smaller studio. That's fine, but like it's on the cusp of greatness. I feel like if it had just a few more tweaks and some minor feedback from the right people, it would have been a better game. It's not in any way a bad game. It's just it is that typical. We have to say it now. It's a typical Compulsion game. It is that style over substance, and like I'd rather they kind of do the opposite.
sure. And I feel like that. I mean, I know I'm less high on it than you, but I feel like that kind of extends to the platforming too, where the platforming just feels very slow. There are these areas and sections in the game where after you complete a whole bunch of stigmas, you kind of get brought into this ethereal, dreamlike state, and you're
Yeah,
being chased by this, shadowy being in the back. And
yeah,
Hazel's like, "Oh, I gotta keep going. I gotta keep going." There's like supposed to be tension there, but the traversal and the platforming is so slow and
yeah,
so safe that I never feel like there is tension in the air. I never feel like, oh, if
yeah,
I don't hit this mark, whatever's chasing me is going to get me. If I don't do this wall run uh,
yep.
impeccably well, like to perfect this jump or whatever, I'm going to fail this entire sequence. It's always like, well, I got through it, and it's just it's slow. Like it doesn't feel satisfying. It doesn't feel fluid in any way. It's just kind of a bummer.
It,
I'm kind of just bummed out by the anytime that I have to go through those sections.
these sections were, I mean, like I didn't hate them. I do like that stuff because I mean, it's not like it's complicated or anything like that. It's like it's another thing that's serviceable to the gameplay. It's always in the story. They're trying to tell
Yeah,
the story more than anything,
absolutely.
and that's fine. But like I was on my phone texting and like I was just putting something in the group chat yesterday and like I was playing it and like that section came up and all that happens is she drops to one knee and it just goes retry. And it's just like, okay,
Oh,
that
see,
was
I
so
never even saw
anticlimactic.
that. Yeah.
So like and that was the only time I died during those sections because like they're so simple.
Yep.
I did like the wall running with the verticality. That's
It
cool. I
was
actually did like
cool.
that. I think
I
that's
did
more
like
games
that.
should have that.
Yep.
If you're gonna have powers, then that's the way to do it. But like that, it's just it was so simple. And the only thing I feel like is another issue was the LT button. It's like that move where she like zips to something. It would always hit like if she's zip lining between two power lines, it would hit the power
Oh, I
line
see.
and she would fall. It's like I feel like yeah, there was like a hitbox issue every time she would do it somewhere. Like you're crossing,
Mhm.
like flooded areas through a farmland or like through like some of the daisy fields, and like she would always fall in the water because like she would hit like a
Fair.
power line or something. And I was like, okay, this is stupid. And the other stupid thing is she can't swim. And I know the in game
Right.
is the water's toxic. Well, like, come on.
Why?
There's no way every area that you're in is toxic.
Yeah.
And I'm going to just chalk it up to maybe like a budget issue. They just didn't have time to program all that or whatever it is. But like, that was just like, come on. Really? You're telling me this woman who lives in the South, who seems fairly capable, doesn't know how to swim? And I'm not saying everyone should know how to swim.
I don't know how to swim, but
Everyone
I'm
should.
not
I feel,
blaming it on toxic water.
Yeah, but like toxic water, like you're just gonna just fall into and die, or you're just let it accept your fate and just pass out. No, I try my best to get out of it. But not even that. She just falls and the screen turns to black, and it's like, okay, that's just I don't know. It feels like
it definitely is. It's just a creative decision, just not to have swimming mechanics.
But it's just weird things like that. It's just like, yeah, we're in bayous and swamps, and she doesn't want to even go near the water. So okay,
yeah.
But,
and I feel bad because I know I'm being very critical of the game, but
no, it's not even something I would ding from points. Like during the review, I didn't even talk about that. It's just that was more like a personal peeve.
Of course, I mean, like between the gameplay and the platforming, I know I am a little more sour on it than you and other people I've talked to, but playing the game never really compelled me as much as experiencing the game. And I think Compulsion had such a good creative eye for this that that's what bums me out the most, is that getting through the gameplay is the hardest part because there are so many great moments in the game. There are so many great story beats. Even the side characters like Catfish is awesome. I love the voice acting work that goes into him, the character design of Catfish. I've seen him in the trailers and everything.
I love the Catfish. He's such a cool side character.
Yeah, I mean, were you talking about Crouton, the little doll that Hazel has that she can basically summon, and then you can take control of him and go through these little platforming sections with him. I think he's great. He makes some adorable noises and stuff like that. So it's not that by no means is South of Midnight creatively bankrupt or is just like a void of creativity. I think, in fact, it oozes creativity. It just doesn't match that with gameplay, in my opinion.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's where I'm at with it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, you know what? I don't want to keep beating that same drum. It really feels like it would have been a greater little mini series, and like I hate to knock it, but like these are a bit cool characters to be fleshed out, like more time with Catfish or because like as much he was in there, like, I don't feel like there was enough for me. I wanted more of Catfish than anybody. Sure. I did like a lot of like even the side characters. Like you meet Miss what's her name? You meet Bo, which is like the next door neighbor, and then you meet Mrs. I can't remember her name. She's like the older woman that lives next to you. Like you get to meet them and stuff, and like I and like I love like these little side characters that you learn about, and like these are just one I wanted more of. It just I feel like everything comes down to their budget, and it was just like they couldn't flesh it out as I wanted it. But yeah, I guess that's my pet peeve. I'm really with that.
Possibly, yeah. I do like the amount of story that we get behind each of the quote unquote bosses.
They're so cool. I still think my favorite was the first one. I loved how Benji Rhubarb kind of were introduced, and like that platforming session was probably
that was really cool. Yep.
But then you get like Two Toed Tom, and like I love the song that's playing during his.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I can't get into spoilers because like the last two are probably really, or actually I'd say they're pretty cool. I think they're a little bit more gimmicky.
A little bit, yeah.
But like the songs that are put with them, I was like, oh, this is so cool, and like having that soundtrack already available, so like I can I was riding while I was listening to it, so it's like this is great. So like getting back into that mood. Blues music is just like unlike anything in the world, and like having games embrace what blues music is and like how unique it is. It's very enlightening to me, and like it's enriching, and like I'm just happy that there's a game that's celebrating the South, because the last game that I even feel like did that was, and I'm not going to say it was like a really good rendition. It was Infamous when they did.
Oh, true.
Or even Assassin's Creed Liberation. Like that was okay, but like nothing like this. Like I feel like this is like a true like love letter to the American South, and like
I agree.
the horror elements, and like I love some of the horror elements that they're putting on display here, because like it's unlike anything. Like you can say everyone's got ghost stories, every culture's got them, but like I like what they do with like some of them, and like Hug and Molly.
Oh my
With,
god.
oh,
I was
so
not
cool.
prepared for that.
Yeah, I was like,
Yeah, it
oh,
was such a
the
cool
red
character
threads, and it's
design.
like, oh, this is cool.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
I love learning about that. I think that's the most compelling part of South of Midnight is going through and learning about these characters, seeing how they're realized in this art style. Yeah, that's what kept me going. But yeah, I think for people who are excited for South of Midnight or curious about South of Midnight, I think if you're coming in from a gameplay focus perspective, you might be a little let down. But if you are compelled by style, if you are compelled by a narrative that is a love letter to the South and folklore, I think you won't be disappointed, especially if you are a Game Pass subscriber. You can kind of just jump in with little to no monetary investment. So you can spend a weekend this upcoming weekend or whatever, playing through it and experience it yourself. Again, I know I'm being critical of it. There in no way is it a bad game. It runs very
no,
well. I had
it's
no issue with
incredible.
it with its performance. I think that it's stop motion animation. Wasn't as stop motion as I thought it was going to be. It's no, Harold the Halibut by any means. But it is
No,
there. It does have like some stop motion inspirations. And for people who are kind of off put by that, who can't really stomach it and everything, there is an option to turn it off in gameplay.
yeah,
It's still there. It's still very apparent when you're in cutscenes and everything. But while you're playing the game, you can turn that off if you want, or you can keep
yeah.
it going. But beyond that, did you have any other thoughts on South of Midnight? Anything we didn't talk about?
No, I feel like, I mean, it's a, like we said, it's a great weekend game. You can finish in a couple days. Don't feel like whatever anything bad or anything negative that we've said is like a skip. Like I know a couple people have previously like messaged me on Twitter after listening to a couple of our episodes, and they're like, well, should I still play this game? Yeah, play this. Like
Yeah.
it is worth playing. It's such a cool game. I mean, it's a Canadian studio, so it's
Hmm.
like you get that, and you're supporting Canadian developers. So like
Yeah.
whether you play it on Game Pass, you buy it. Like it is a fun game, but it doesn't have like a lasting appeal. Like you play it one, it's like something you might revisit in a couple years, but it's not something you pick up right away again.
Yeah. No, I agree. Um,
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish I wasn't as disappointed. It was a game that I was very much looking forward to from previews and trailers and everything, but
Yeah.
that's it.
I mean, if there's ever a chance of a sequel, I'm fully there day one. I feel like with the launch of this game, there's going to be a lot of good feedback from press
Yes,
and consumers. So like, I would love to see a sequel, because like I said, the South has lots of folklore. It's got lots of stuff that they can pull from. So like, even if you do a sequel, like you don't need to use Hazel. You can pick up another Weaver.
sure. That's so true.
So that's what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, I hope it doesn't run into the same situation as like a Hi-Fi Rush, where you
Yeah,
have a character, you have someone like Hazel being this. If you invest well, you can put her as a face of the brand of the Xbox brand moving forward. If you really invest in this character, invest in Compulsion, make sure that their next game is fleshed out a little more. If they really do want to continue with South of Midnight, or maybe you continue with the same art style but somewhere else and explore different folklore. I think that would be really cool. I just hope that
yeah,
despite my sentiments, I hope that Compulsion continues to be able to make these cool kind of games, because yeah, I feel like there is a void of games kind of like Hi-Fi Rush, Psychonauts, two of these kind of smaller platforming games that really do bend conventions in terms of how they look and how they feel.
yep,
Yeah.
and yeah, and I did like, and if the next game so happens to double down on the stop motion, I did like, and just to circle back, I did like it. I actually wanted more of it.
Me too.
And yeah, I mean, like I feel like if the world's gonna do what they're doing with the stop motion, put more animals in, put more elements in
Mm,
where the people are walking around. Like have a town where people are walking around and like you can talk to them and they're stop motion, and then Kate, like for example, if Hazel's there, let her be the only one that's not stop motion. She's just interacting with everything. Let everything else just kind of work in that style.
Sure.
But
Yep.
yeah, it's a little undercooked for me. I know that they're selling it as a stop motion game, but like we said, yeah, if you want stop motion, Harold Halibut is definitely the game. Like I can't praise that game enough. It's so cool to have that's a fully stop motion game.
It 100% is. Yeah.
It's so good too. So it's like it's like a Wes Anderson film you're playing.
Absolutely. So. Yeah. This one's a little more toned down. It's a little more subtle in its stop motion, but it has a very stylistic art style nonetheless. Great. Well, yeah, Bobby, you said that you're going to have the Rin review out now, so people can go check that out. Where can people find it? Where can people keep up with you and Console Creatures?
Yeah, you can check us out, consolecreatures.com, Bluesky, Instagram, any social channels, and I'm at BPashlidas. Yeah, check us out.
Amazing. And for me, you can find me across the internet at svigvari. By the time you're listening to this, we'll also have an episode out talking about Nintendo Switch 2. It's been a busy week. Lots of gaming news, lots of gaming, lots of gaming discussions here. So we wanted to segment that. So go check out that episode as well. We're going to be talking about the new hardware, upcoming games, and everything. Lots to be excited for. But yeah, we appreciate you and the support. But until next time, we'll see ya. Bye.